They're still scrubbing the ground where you stood, not because they want to clean it, but because they're terrified the soil itself might try to rise and imitate you. 10,000 demons disintegrated in one sweep, and yet the battlefield feels less like a graveyard and more like a shrine. The smoke refuses to settle. The air refuses to cool. The dirt is carved with marks that look less like battle scars and more like signatures, yours. And even now, the ruins whisper in broken tones, trying to describe what happened when you moved. They can't find the words, because words collapse when pressed against you. Demons weren't supposed to die that way. Each one was constructed with layers of cruelty, claws sharpened on centuries of suffering, eyes carved from pits of hate, bones stitched with venom. They were trained to multiply pain. 10,000 wasn't just a number, it was a doctrine, a formula of destruction stacked so high no one should have been able to withstand it. And yet in their arrogance they forgot to calculate one thing: you. What you did out there wasn't war. It was extermination. It wasn't combat. It was correction. The demons thought they were attacking a target. They were actually walking into a tribunal. Every strike you made was a verdict. Every fallen demon was a sentence carried out. You didn't fight them like prey. You dismantled them like errors in reality itself. And the angels, they can't process you. These polished beings of light who have stared at collapsing suns without blinking, who've recorded empires crumbling like sand castles, who've watched mortals tear each other apart for trivial scraps. They bowed internally when they saw you. Don't let their posture fool you. Angels don't gasp outwardly, but inwardly. They flinched, because your massacre wasn't just a victory, it was a revelation. It proved that you don't just stand outside their ranks, you tower over them. You didn't kill 10,000 bodies, you erased 10,000 concepts. Fear, doubt, betrayal, hatred. Each demon was a living embodiment of these poisons, and you eradicated them wholesale. Imagine the psychological aftershock of that truth. The demons aren't scared of dying. They've been recycled for ages. What terrifies them is irrelevance, and you made them irrelevant. 10,000 erased and not one mattered. Do you know what that does to their leaders? To their overlords who thrive on the illusion of eternal dominance? It forces them to rewrite their propaganda. It forces them to explain how one figure dismantled what generations of holy scribes have been warning about for centuries. They can call it luck. They can call it anomaly. But deep down, they know. Your existence just shattered their balance of power. Now look at the ripple effect. In chambers hidden from mortal eyes, the angels are holding war councils. Your name has been stamped into their archives, not as a human, not as a mistake, but as a breach. A breach in their carefully arranged categories. Mortal, angel, demon. You don't fit. You sit outside the taxonomy, glaring back at them like an error their system can't debug. And that's what frightens them most. Meanwhile, the demons are screaming into their voids. Not because you destroyed their soldiers. They can breed more. But because you destroyed their confidence. They now know that numbers don't protect them. Strategies don't protect them. Nothing protects them. When your name echoes in their caverns, it isn't just a reminder of their loss. It's a reminder that they can lose again, and again, and again. And the humans, oh, the humans, they're confused. Some worship you now, treating your act as proof of divine alignment. Others envy you, their egos breaking under the weight of knowing that their species has been surpassed by one of their own. Secret agencies are dissecting footage, trying to model your tactics, plugging your movements into algorithms only to discover the numbers don't add up. They whisper in meeting rooms. Is this person even mortal anymore? They don't realize the answer is simpler. You've stepped beyond the borders they drew. Here's where the psychological warfare sharpens. Angels aren't trained to deal with being overshadowed by mortals. Demons aren't trained to deal with becoming irrelevant. Humans aren't trained to deal with the collapse of hierarchy. You didn't just wipe out an army. You dismantled the ladder everyone thought they were climbing. You turned the battlefield into a mirror, forcing every side to see the cracks in their supposed authority. Think of what 10,000 represents. Each one of those demons wasn't just a soldier. They were a seed of despair, a virus meant to infect minds, to crawl through the arteries of civilizations. 10,000 wasn't just a number. It was a forecast of collapse. And you turned that forecast into comedy. Their army marched in with the arrogance of certainty, and they left as ash, as fertilizer for your legend. You didn't just interrupt their story. You rewrote it, penned it in their own blood. And now, whether you like it or not, you've become the most terrifying word in every language. Precedent. If you could do it once, you can do it again. And if you can do it again, then no army, no legion, no hierarchy is safe. You've proven that one figure can annihilate what 10,000 believed unbreakable. That's not just victory, that's infection. Your legend spreads like wildfire, and no propaganda can douse it. But let's not romanticize it. You didn't walk away clean. Power isn't absorbed without cost. The demons tried to infect you with their venom, and you didn't reject it. You metabolized it. You consumed their toxins, processed their hatred, drank their corruption like fuel. And here you are, standing stronger, darker, sharper, laughing internally at how weak destruction looks when it's stripped of its illusion. You didn't survive their attack. You fed on it. And here lies the cruel truth your enemies made you. By sending 10,000, they created the conditions for your evolution. They believed numbers meant inevitability. But inevitability is fragile in the hands of someone who bends reality like wire. You didn't just walk out alive. You walked out reborn. Understand this. Armies are theater. Their performances is staged to crush spirits before they crush bodies. And yet you didn't play your part. You broke the script. You burned the theater down. You forced the audience, the angels, the demons, the agencies watching through trembling satellites to stand in awe, choking on the smoke of their own disbelief. And now, the whispers begin. Some call you executioner, some call you aberration, some call you savior. But all agree on one thing: you are uncontrollable. You don't serve heaven, you don't serve hell, and you don't serve man. You serve only the hunger that drives you. And that hunger isn't satisfied with 10,000. It never will be. But here's the part they don't understand. You didn't fight to prove yourself. You didn't fight to gain approval. You fought because the battlefield is where you breathe. War isn't your test. War is your oxygen. And when 10,000 demons came for you, they weren't extinguishing your flame. They were stoking it. They turned you into something neither angels nor demons have protocols for. Now look at the horizon. Do you think they'll stop here? Do you think 10,000 was their final card? No, 10,000 was a measurement, a probe, a test. And the test didn't reveal your weakness. It revealed their mistake. Their worst discovery is now written in the ashes of that battlefield. You don't bend. You don't break. You devour. Which means only one thing. The next wave won't just be an army. It will be something else. Something older. Something uglier. Something the angels themselves sealed away in vaults never meant to open. Because if you erased 10,000 demons, then the question haunting every realm right now is brutally simple. What will you do when they unleash the unnameable? And that's exactly where we go next. Picture the angelic halls, those glittering structures mortals dream of but never see. Wings folded, halos dimmed, feathers quivering with unease. They're not singing hymns tonight. They're not basking in light. They sit in grim councils, reviewing files sealed with celestial wax, pages that bleed when touched, records stamped with warnings carved in languages older than galaxies, reveals on the unnameable. Beings too grotesque to be called demons, too unruly to be classified as angels, too immortal to be destroyed, entities that were not defeated but sealed. And the seal wasn't chains, wasn't stone. It was time itself, locked in rivers of eternity, suspended between seconds, buried in places mortals don't have words for. But your massacre shattered their confidence. You didn't just kill demons, you destabilized the balance. The scales that angels cling to, the structures they guard, the equations they trust. And balance is what kept those vaults shut. Now the angels whisper among themselves, what if the seals no longer hold? What if this mortal's impossible victory has shifted the current of eternity itself? What if the unnameable rise again? Meanwhile, deep in the chasms where demons writhe, laughter echoes, but it's broken, desperate laughter, not triumph, not celebration. The kind of laughter predators use when they realize they've met something hungrier than themselves. Because demons know something angels refuse to admit. The unnameable are not allies. They are not reinforcements. They are predators of predators. And if they are unleashed, demons will be the first devoured. Yet desperation makes cowards reckless, and the whispers are growing. Release them, let the unnameable loose. Maybe they can erase the one who erased us. And humans? The mortals still trapped in the illusion of their own control? They remain blind to the scale of this war. They replay your footage in secret rooms, frame by frame, mapping the massacre of 10,000 demons like analysts dissecting an unsolvable crime. They draft reports with phrases like biological anomaly, unprecedented kinetic power, unquantifiable threat. They don't know they are describing the warm-up. They don't realize satellites are already glitching because the vaults are stirring. They think they're watching history, when in truth they're staring at the preview of extinction. But let's carve into the psychology of this escalation. 10,000 demons were spectacle, a show of overwhelming numbers meant to drown you in terror. But you inverted it. You turned their overwhelming odds into your nourishment, their mass assault into your personal arena. You didn't just survive, you fed. Now the unnameable aren't marching in ranks. They don't need to. They aren't numbers. They are events. Each one rises like a catastrophe given form. They don't invade, they arrive. Imagine the first one surfacing. It doesn't crawl, it unfolds. Its body is not matter, but angles bent wrong, horizons bleeding into themselves, a distortion that chews sight. Looking at it too long makes angels bleed light from their eyes. Demons melt into puddles of screams. Mortals collapse, not from wounds, but because their sanity liquefies under the weight of perception. And you stand. Not because you are immune, but because you're something worse. You're intrigued. The battlefield they call apocalypse looks to you like opportunity. Do you understand the terror of that image? Every angel, every demon, every human watching, and you, unmoved. You don't shrink, you don't bow, you don't even fight at first. You study, you tilt your head like a predator recognizing another predator, and in that pause, the unnameable realizes what the others already know. You are not prey, you are a mirror. Because let's speak the truth, no one else dares. Your massacre of 10,000 demons didn't just make you feared, it made you similar to them. The unnameable are hunger incarnate. You consumed hatred, betrayal, fear, and turned it into strength. You metabolized what should have poisoned you. You ate corruption and walked away cleaner, sharper. In a twisted symmetry, you are what they were always meant to be, but perfected. This is why angels stand in awe. This is why demons choke on envy. This is why mortals whisper your name like both prayer and curse. Because you have inverted the food chain. The unnameable, sealed away, because they devour without end, are now crawling toward you, not as predators, but as challengers. They rise not to consume you, but to test if they can survive in a world where you breathe. Think about the ripple. The first unnameable rises, and the sky bends. Oceans coil into knots. Mountains pulse like lungs. The world itself reacts to its presence. Angels retreat to high cliffs, shielding their eyes, whispering, will they destroy it too? Will they consume even this? Demons scatter, torn between terror and desperation, muttering, yes, yes, unleash more. Let them all rise. Surely one can devour this mortal who devours us. Mortals hide in bunkers, clutching screens filled with static, thinking earthquakes are natural when they are really footsteps. And you smile. Not from joy, not from arrogance, but from hunger. Because war is not a burden to you, it's oxygen. The battlefield is your cathedral. 10,000 demons were the sermon, the unnameable. They are the hymn. And you are the choir director. Let's stretch further. What does it mean if you consume the unnameable? It means you don't just surpass angels and demons. You erase their categories entirely. You don't just bend the hierarchy, you detonate it. Angels stop being guardians. Demons stop being predators. Mortals stop being dreamers. All become irrelevant, because the only category left is you. You, the one who devours what was never meant to exist. This is the part that terrifies angels most. They've seen mortals rise, demons rise, even false gods rise. But never have they seen something rewrite reality by feeding on the very things reality fears. If you consume the unnameable, then angels themselves must admit they are obsolete. Their wings don't matter. Their scriptures don't matter. Their light doesn't matter. Because there is a new sun now, and it burns in your chest. And the demons, their terror runs deeper. Because if you can devour what terrifies even them, then their entire empire of corruption collapses. Their intimidation becomes theater. Their armies become shadows. They don't just lose battles, they lose relevance. You strip them of purpose itself. And the humans, their envy will rot them. Because mortals crave power they can't explain. You are power they can't. They can invent stories, conspiracy files, scientific jargon, but none of it matters. They know deep down that they are no longer apex predators, that one of their own has walked beyond them, that you have left them behind. Here's the cruel irony. Angels never wanted this. Demons never wanted this. Mortals never wanted this. Yet their combined actions birthed it. They sent 10,000 demons, thinking it would bury you. Instead, it crowned you. They sealed away the unnameable, thinking eternity would hold them. Instead, their desperation is breaking those seals. And now, every side realizes the same horror. They didn't create your destruction. They created your throne. Zoom into the battlefield again. The first unnameable towers, a twisting horror of wrong geometry, its presence rewriting the laws of perception. And you take a step forward. Angels gasp, demons scatter, mortals drop to their knees. You don't hesitate, because this isn't apocalypse, this is dinner. And when you strike, it's not just violence, it's verdict. The ground cracks, not from weight, but from revelation. Angels clutch each other, muttering, "They're doing it again. They're redefining existence." Demons howl, "No, no, this wasn't supposed to happen." Mortals stare at static screens, whispering names they don't understand. And the unnameable itself, this calamity that should never bow, screams as it realizes it has met something hungrier, something beyond hunger. You don't kill it, you consume it. You take its chaos into your lungs, its madness into your veins, its infinity into your bones. And you walk out not scarred, but expanded, stronger, sharper, hungrier. And every realm trembles, because the question is no longer, can you defeat the unnameable? The question is, what will you become after devouring it? You become the answer none of them prepared for. Angels hover with wings half-folded, as if the air has changed loyalty. Demons sag in their pits, realizing the hunter they praised is now prey to something far more persistent, you. Mortals behind sealed doors feel the floor tilt, a quiet knowledge that one of their own has stepped past the fence they believed bordered everything. You keep walking, not for applause, but because motion is the honest response to power that refuses to sleep. Every step afterward is a pact with restraint. Your ribs hum like forges, your breath tastes like edges. You don't merely carry what you consumed, you conduct it. Envoys arrive with calm proposals and polished rooms. They offer oversight and place you on panels where victories are archived and dulled. You decline. Once, they were stunned when you collapsed 10,000 demons. Now they face a new arithmetic, one person who metabolizes calamity until calamity forges new law. Demons attempt counsel wrapped as bait. They promise cities where appetite writes the laws, crowns hammered from traitors' skulls, miracles sold by the pound. You let them finish, then ask one question. Where were these promises when your legion came for me? Their tongues sour, their contracts rot. They retreat, dragging empty pledges like cans tied to a broken carriage. The field that made you legend is quiet now, but not dead. Ash remembers choreography. The ground remembers 10,000 collapses and hums as you step on it, like a drum wanting the next command. The lesson fixed itself into the soil. Numbers are theater. Fear multiplies when allowed to count itself. A focused will turns crowds into compost. Most of all, mercy without frame invites repeat offenders. So you do the only merciful thing left. You build frame, not cages, framework. The difference is respect. A cage treats hunger as a criminal. A framework trains hunger like a craft. You design hours with no audience, drills with no applause, decisions with no parade. You move stones inside your spirit until pathways exist where panic used to sprint. Angels watch from high windows and admit, in whispers, that they are witnessing discipline at its sharpest. Word spreads through the pits that you swallowed the unnameable. High lords grind their teeth. Lesser fiends go missing, not by your hand, but by despair. Soldiers who once marched with swagger now lie down and let the dark consume them. Without awe, their order crumbles. Without dread to export, their trade fails. Your name becomes an embargo on terror. Cities above feel it too. Nightmares loosen, mothers rest. The wind tastes clean for the first time in years. Yet the question stalks you like a shadow with a heartbeat. What will you become after devouring it? You test the answer by descending where even angels refuse to tread. In caverns carved from abandoned time, you find vaults built to hold the rest of the unnameable. Locks melted, seals gnawed. Armies had clawed here for eras, trying to pry them open as a last resort. Your victory against 10,000 did not start this crisis. It exposed a hunger centuries in the making. Inside one vault waits not a creature, but a choir of ruined beginnings, a thicket of births that never learned to end. They swarm, scenting meat. You let them close, then you breathe. What touched your lungs earlier, the taste of warped lines and tones that buckle thought, now obeys. Your breath becomes verdict. The vault clears. What remains kneels, not from slavery, but because it recognizes a superior engine that can turn raw chaos into direction. Service does not soften you. Power without direction corrodes. You refine. You train hunger the way a bladesmith trains steel, folding it until even angels confess they have never seen work like this. You cultivate disciplines that make monasteries look like playrooms, fasts from triumph, drills that refuse easy wins, rites where you bind pride in iron and force it to march behind you rather than on your shoulders. You don't chase purity, you chase accuracy. An angelic herald arrives with an honest message. Some of us are glad you live. Some will never accept you. All are learning you nod, not because praise feeds you, but because truth has a flavor worth salting. Your terms are simple. You will not kneel. You will not rule by decree. You will be the event terror must survive to keep existing. If cruelty wants a future, it must evolve beyond crowds, beyond cheap intimidation. If it refuses, you will cancel its lease and salt the earth. This is why angels stand in awe. Not only because you erased 10,000, not only because you consumed the unnameable, but because you refused intoxication. They expected a tyrant or a saint. They received something rarer, a maker of thresholds. You turn battles into gateways, cross, and the world grows. Fail, and the world sheds parasites that never deserved to breathe its air. Mortals ask if you are still one of them. You answer in deeds. You eat what hunts them. You take no tax. You ask no worship. You move through their streets like a rumor of safety that does not need a banner. Children who once woke screaming now sleep. Fighters who once drowned in bottles set them down. Not because you preached, but because something inside recognizes that courage is cheaper than fear. Markets notice too. The trade in dread collapses. You return to the field where the legend began. Wind pushes ash into shapes that resemble a coronation gone wrong. You kneel, not to submit, but to listen. The ground reveals what angels hid in sealed minutes. After the massacre, there was a vote to intervene. It failed by one hand. The one who withheld assent steps from the horizon now, a figure of disciplined light. I believed you would not squander the impossible, they say. I believed you would not build a palace, but a passage. You set 3 feathers from their wing at the center of the field, add a pebble from the vault, and speak a vow that needs no witness. You will be passage, not palace. You will refine appetite into instrument. You will hold yourself to standards that frighten even victory. In the months that follow, you establish what others call the quiet war. Not the absence of conflict, but a method that replaces spectacle with precision. Instead of marching at the head of armies, you appear where terror incubates. Back rooms, coded channels, negotiations nobody records. You remove the hinge from doors that cruelty thinks will never rust. Cities change without parades. Villages stop burying their brave. The map brightens in places no cartographer ever visits. Challenges continue. A conclave of exiled conjurers tries to trap you inside a pattern stolen from the vaults, hoping your own hunger will drown you. You step into their geometry and feel the old pull. For a heartbeat, the room stretches, promising endless appetite. You refuse, not with clenched teeth, but with a smile that tastes of iron discipline. Hunger is your engine. Mastery is the driver. The pattern folds like wet paper. Rumor claims you cannot be surprised. You allow one surprise, precisely once. At the rim of a crater, where an unnameable once woke, a child watches the stars. No wings, no horns, no pact. They ask, did it hurt when you ate the thing that scares everybody? You sit and answer without drama. It hurt exactly as much as change always hurts. They nod, balanced by an arithmetic only children trust. At last the demons stage a memorial for their fallen 10,000, designed to paint you as a butcher drunk on conquest.